some of you who were here several months ago, I gave a presentation at that time to describe to the club something on my heart, and that was to achieve what we call the DTM award. I didn't plan to do that when I started Toastmasters. I came because my husband joined Toastmasters, invited me to come, and I would hide behind him so no one would call me for table topics. However, in the years that have gone by, I have gradually just done every step, followed through, been achieving the different requirements to come to this final point, which is to achieve the DTM award. It actually is the highest award you can get in this Toastmasters leadership and communication skills. We have one person in this club who has done this already, and that is Bert Bocera. So he was an inspiration to me, as he is to all the club. And he's a driver too, and every time I was going toward receiving a new award, he said, okay, now you gotta go to the DTM award. So I thank him for his motivational and persuasion. How many of you are familiar with a situation that you just think to yourself, it shouldn't be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. There needs to be some change. We all see that around us every day, right? This was one of the requirements for fulfilling this high performance project. Find something, see what you can do to change it. This is an aspect that every leader has. Every leader is a person who sees a problem and says, I'm not just going to leave it like that and complain. I'm going to see, is there something that I can do to fix the problem? So I started thinking about my life, and I thought, what things are there in my life right now that really matter to me, that I see could use some change? Well, because of some life circumstances, I got involved with a group, and it's actually a church. It's called New Wine Church, and it has a home for women who have been under the tyranny and the slavery of addiction. When I started to have some more interaction with these women, I realized that there was one thing that was really lacking, and I just started to kind of consider my life, and I thought, I'm so thankful for Toastmasters, because Toastmasters has actually prepared me to be a person who could take this kind of initiative. Otherwise, I never would have done it. To be able to come up with a way to help these women, it needed somebody who could have gained communication and leadership skills. And I thought, okay, I've been prepared. So one of the main thing that I saw that they needed was being able to have interpersonal communications with each other. These women live in a home that has one large room. They have 4 bunk beds, and it can 8 women can come and live there. Do you know what that's like? To live with 8 women? I don't. Actually, I never left home until I got married, so I didn't know what it was like to live with anybody except my family. And not only are there 8 women, but these are 8 women who have had a lot of issues in their life, a lot of problems in their life. You know, addiction is, unfortunately, in this generation, something that is just destructive, and it's destroying a lot of lives. So one of the things that maybe they didn't learn when they were growing up, maybe they didn't have the models in their home, a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, somebody who could teach them the value of learning how to communicate with each other in a way that would be constructive, in a way that was a building up instead of a tearing down. with all this in view and all this in mind, I thought, okay, Lord, I was praying about something like this, and now you've given it and put it into my hands. Now what am I going to do about it? So I presented it to the club, and I took it as my goal to do something in this home to help them with the interpersonal communications. I presented it, and then right after my presentation, I needed to recruit some people that would help me. And I had about 4 people that raised their hand, and they said that they would help me with this. 3 of them are here today. We have Eleanor and Rocio and Tamara. And they were so willing that they just kind of set me on fire too.
And Michelle.
And okay, Michelle also, who is not here today, she volunteered as well, and she helped us out on the first meeting that we had. So again, here are the goals. You have to find something that you can improve, then you visualize the situation, you share it with others, and you find some who are willing to help you. And then you learn to lead the effort and experience what it takes to become a leader. So this was becoming a leader outside of my comfort zone. I have been a leader in the club as president for a while now, and it's been a real challenge, but I'm so willing to do it because I can see the growth I've had in my life. So this was the first time that I was going to do something in a community kind of environment. So my guidance team then became Eleanor, Tamara, Rocio, and then Michelle helped out a little bit. And these amazing women in our club, they became everything to me. They supported me with ideas, and in our planning meetings, they were so faithful to come. Of course, I provided them with some good lasagna, so they were like, yeah, we'll be there at 6 o'clock. And it was just great. We had a wonderful time around the table discussing a lot of these things and the ideas. And of course, Eleanor's my neighbor, so she couldn't get away or miss the meetings. We try to drag her in all the time. So this was part of the requirement, to get a guidance team, a team that would help me in developing my leadership skills. They were kind of keeping, just drawing the borders, right? What can we do? What should we not do? How should we go forward with this? So of course my project was to introduce Toastmasters at the New Wine Church, which hosts a women's discipleship home for women with addictions. So I had to come up with my vision. My vision was to help them develop better speaking skills so that they could express their thoughts respectfully to one another and allow for differences of opinions. To understand that a good communicator can deliver thoughts and ideas which can inspire, motivate, and persuade, and even diffuse misunderstandings. These soft skills are of great value to a business organization and fruitful in personal relationships. I thought about them as they come to this home. Basically, the first thing is to cause them to see where they are and realize that they needed a change in their life. And a lot of this has to do with even coming to a personal relationship with God. And for me, the spiritual aspect of it is actually what is going to really move you forward. And that's where they need to go. Because it's so easy for them to go backwards and to fall back. So besides that, I realized that as they were going forward, these communication skills were really, really critical for them to restore their lives, to get back on track. If they want to go and look for a job after they've been in this home for a while, they need to know what is needed in an interview. How do you sit in front of people that are interviewing you? How do you feel comfortable to the point that you can present yourself in a positive way? The girls and I, we talked about one of the books that is an old manual from the way Toastmasters used to do it. Instead of pathways, we used to have our own manuals. One of them is called Interpersonal Communications. And we thought, surely this is the best book that we can go through. So after talking about it, I had to go to the church, to the pastor, to his wife, to the home, and I had to sell this idea. I had to let them know this is what we feel is needful here, and we feel like it would be beneficial to you as well as an experience for us. So we held a meeting together with them, and actually what happened was really wonderful. The pastor's wife was there, and the coordinator of the house was there, and all the women had to be there because they're required to do things pretty much together and go to all their meetings together. So this was perfect. I was not going to have to try to get 1 or 2 or 3. All 8 of them had to come because the pastor's wife had approved it and said, we're all going to be there. So it was wonderful. And the girls were excited about it. The women were excited about it as well. So this book, I have a copy of it here. It's called Interpersonal Communication Manual, and it has 5 projects within it. And these are the 5 projects: conversing with ease, the successful negotiator, diffusing verbal criticism, the coach, and asserting yourself effectively. These were just excellent and perfect for the women in this house. So we did it. It turned out, in my mind, to be a fantastic experience for all of us. We at one point we would meet together and we would reevaluate. How are we doing on this project? Is it coming along okay? Are we sticking to the plan? And we discussed how we might improve it. So we did find a few things that we thought we could have done at the very beginning. Our very first meeting, we just kind of went head first, and we decided to hold a meeting. But I think we had talked about it, that it would have been better if we had done a demo meeting, and maybe even invited some of our Toastmasters from this group. And we would have just given them a whole picture of what a Toastmasters meeting is like. The other thing was to set up guidelines. What we found out, you're also wonderful. You're here listening to me, and you're giving me your attention. We didn't have that kind of reaction that much in a couple of our meetings. The girls were chatting, they were kind of carrying on. So it would have been good to set down some guidelines and say, this is how we conduct our meeting. And of course, a demo meeting would have showed that as well. The women that were on my guidance team, they're very skilled and very capable, and so I was so happy that they were on my team. And what we tried to do is just coordinate that with our presentations, and those who had a certain skill, we kind of talked about all those 5 projects, and we had volunteers. Tamara volunteered for a couple of the projects, and then Rocio and Eleanor, and they prepared, and they went above and beyond in their preparation. I mean, some of them had handouts, they had definitions of words to help the women kind of get the idea of what we were going to present that day. The table topics were fantastic. We tried to do them so that it was questions that they could relate to, and maybe in their life experiences had learned some things. And the whole meetings were, every meeting we had was a wonderful meeting, a learning experience. We took some pictures towards the end of the project, and the lady you see here standing with Eleanor, that is the pastor's wife, and her name is Sharon. She's a wonderful lady. She wanted to participate. She actually volunteered for one of the very first project, and she was very encouraging. There on the other side you see Tamara. Tamara was always so enthusiastic, kind of vibrant and lively and smiley, and always willing to go along with whatever the girls were doing, even though sometimes they interrupted. But they were learning little by little how to conduct a meeting. Now this is Rocio on the left, and in front of her you can see some of the women. And most of the time we had at least 6, 7, or 8 women that were there. The woman on the right, the young woman on the right, is my daughter. My daughter is actually there in that home. And I'm sorry. I didn't practice this part. But she went through some difficult circumstances in her life about 7 years ago, became an alcoholic. Her life was utterly destroyed. She has 4 children, her husband, everything crumbled. But she has had, I'm glad to report, a wonderful turn in her life. She has turned back to the Lord. She almost had an injury to her head. She had to have a surgery called, what is it called, Ron? Cranioscopy. She had a cranioscopy, which means they cut out a piece of your skull, and her piece was quite large. And she was wearing a helmet for about a year. They actually preserve the skull, they freeze it, and they keep it until they can do the cranioplasty, which is when they put it back in. And it was successful, thank God. And she's doing wonderfully. Wonderful. I don't know, wonderfully, is that a word, Shirley? And she has just recently, we of course had the presentation there. She did her presentation, and she's gone to a couple of organizations that are available. The state of California is amazing, or in the United States, there's so many options. She was able to go to a place where they actually helped her. It's a lab, and you go in, there are computers there, and you can get on, and they help you create a resume, they help you create a cover letter, they help you actually get online and start job searching. She actually is working, she's been a week, and she's had a couple of little jobs in between, but she had opportunity through a friend to apply for a job which is called a detox tech. And she said, Mom, everything I have learned has prepared me for this position. She's been there a week, and she's just so happy. She is so excited because there's a lot of young people there. As opposed to the home where she's in, there's a lot of older women, but these are young kids who have had problems with addictions, not only alcohol, but drugs. And she is just sharing her testimony. She is sharing her experience, and she's communicating it because she's gained a lot of wonderful skills through this project that we did there at the home. I would like if Tamara and Rocio and Eleanor could just give like a little table topics portion right at this point, and you can stay at your desk or at your the table, and share with us a little bit about your experience in this project.
So my experience in this project, I felt the need to jump in and help Elizabeth because I was championing the cause. I've never really actually volunteered for anything this major before. This took a lot of time and effort to meet with her and discuss what we were going to present to the ladies. And I just worked off of a manual. I just read it and presented it as if I had been teaching this for years. And I really enjoyed the feedback from the ladies. They were very they participated a lot. And I wanted to make an environment similar to here where they are able to speak their ideas freely and without any criticism and just get their emotions out and practice their speaking skills. They aren't very shy at all. They actually talk a lot. And at table topics, most times you freeze up and you don't know what to say, but they had a great time doing table topics. Mm-hmm. And they're in a home where they're constantly working. They're not just laying around and then they come to this class at the end of the night. They have a job and they're working really hard and they're tired, and then they come to our class and I just saw a lot of aha moments where what we were presenting, you could see they would think back and they were so engaged in it, and they would say, oh, I could have used this skill at this moment in my life, or I didn't know that this was a way to approach something that would have been really helpful had I known it earlier. So that was my big payoff, was seeing the aha moments, and that the stuff we were telling them or teaching them was connecting. And even at the end, the pastor invited us to her house for a final dinner. And again, we shared, like, how could we have improved? What did you find useful in the class? And they found everything useful. And they had a lot of, they wanted to share more about the moments in their life where they could have used our communication or interpersonal skills. So that was my experience. I really enjoyed it, and I hope we do it again for another batch of students. Thank you.
Well, for me, it was really interesting to see the women gathered around also, and I really learned a lot from them too, because for me, it's just like, it was a aha moment for me as opposed to them aha moment. They have such a heart for the Lord that I really believe that without the Lord in their lives, they couldn't have done it by themselves, for themselves. Because I think before, when they got into that addiction, they were just thinking about themselves. But with their attitude now, they want to help others, and that's why they were into this interpersonal communication skills, because they want to get better. So all of them wants to get better in their lives. So I saw that, and it's just like, wow, I was inspired by that, because from what they've come from before, and then their lives was broken, and then everything was taken away from them, and then just to build themselves back up. It was inspirational for me, so that was interesting. Thank you.
So initially, when I decided to volunteer because I feel like part of what I do, what I should be doing in life, is helping others once I feel like I've gone to a certain position. I might not be in the best position, but I feel like if I've gone through something, I should help someone that is struggling or is going through the same thing that I've gone to before. So that was what I went into in mind. I wanted to help someone, gain these experiences and knowledges. And the book that we went over together as a team and deciding what we were going to talk about, a lot of the topics we didn't really know about, or we did know that we had practiced, but it was just more clear in the booklet itself. And one of the topics that we discussed was how to assert ourselves effectively. So through the booklet, we read it as a team. We learned what exactly it meant to be asserting ourselves effectively. And I noticed that I wasn't doing that in the past. And going through the booklet itself and teaching the women how to assert themselves effectively, I learned how to assert myself effectively. So not only did I go in there and I saw them light up, with their smiles and their thoughts, but I also learned something from that experience. So I wasn't expecting to learn, but I did learn, and I taught them something. So it was a great experience overall.
All three of you come up for a minute. Eleanor, Tamara, Lucille. I know it's almost up, sorry, but I just want to give you some certificates. We, for our participation, Eleanor and Lucille, we gave these to the girls on the last day, and we also made some verses that talk about words and the tongue and how from the Bible, and so I'd like to give each one of you a verse as well. And thank you very much. I also want to put up here, lastly, a picture of all of us. Those are all the women there, and those are the three of us. And Sharon is right in the center in the back in the red. And they actually are very happy and probably want us to come back again, which maybe we will do. Maybe others will want to do it as well. And actually, they invited me to come and speak on Wednesday nights. They have a women's meeting, and they asked me to come and speak. So Please pray for me because I don't know what I'm going to say. But this would be for all the people, the women that come, not just the women in the house. Thank you very much. I appreciate all that you did. It was wonderful. And with that, I would like to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster again. Thank you for your attention. And I hope that something I shared may have hit something in your heart. Let's find places out there where things need to change and become a leader. That's what Toastmaster is all about. Thank you. Eunice.